Hey guys. Okay, so we're wrapping up a month of letting go, which did end in September and it is now November 11th, but I am going to give myself some grace for that, which coincidentally is today's topic. Bum, bum, bum. So, grace. Now we have this final week of a month of letting go. We've been discussing sort of the art of letting go, right? The big powerhouses of letting go. What are the tools that we need in order to help ourselves let go? We've discussed forgiveness. We've discussed gratitude. And today is grace. A lot of people are a little confused as to what grace is. They're like, oh, ballerinas, right? Well, yes, ballerinas are graceful and they're beautiful and it's lovely to watch them. However, having grace for someone or for yourself is different. It's critical for healing and growing. It's what makes way for forgiveness and gratitude. It's kind of hard to define, but when you experience it, you know it. It's a feeling of kindness, of softness, of acceptance, and it's towards both ourselves and others. It's the acknowledgement that we're not perfect and that no one's perfect and we can't expect it to be perfect. And it's acknowledging that with love and compassion. So when we're letting go of something heavy, whether it's a grudge or guilt or just the need to control, grace makes this process, it's gentler, it's more manageable and more transformative. Grace allows us to be kind to ourselves, especially when life gets kind of hard, which it does often and seems to sometimes more often than not, but that's not the attitude to have. That's not the attitude that helps. All right, I'm not gonna tell you what attitude to have. I'm just telling you it's not helpful. In my experience. I don't like talking for you. I'll talk for myself. So it's meeting ourselves or others with gentleness instead of criticism. Right? It's not about pretending everything's okay or letting things slide. It's accepting that we're human, that we're going to struggle, that we're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna be, well, look at that, that's nice. See, I have grace for my hair. It's not gonna be perfect all the time. And it's okay. And that's a component of grace too, is that it not only are we not perfect, but it's okay that we're not perfect. It's kind of expected, right? It's also a measure of humility when you're having grace towards others. Is like, yeah, I'm not perfect either. I know from personal experience, learning to have grace with myself it's been tough, you know. I mean, and it can be for a lot of people. I know that there was just this one moment relatively recently that I had. I spoke a lot about this one particular client I had and how horrible I was feeling about how badly I fucked up. Basically, he and I had become friends, and we really had, like, it was just one of those people that you kind of click with and you're like, oh my God, you're awesome. And he's like, you're awesome too. And we're like, okay, great, we're gonna be friends. And the thing about it is that, number one, I didn't do a great job of really defining what the book was going to be before we started. And I kind of figured, hey, I'll just figure it out. It's never a good idea. Although sometimes it works, but usually it doesn't. That's not true. I don't know. Let's just strike all those comments, put them over there, have some grace for me. Okay. So, point is, I did not finish this book. And it went on for a really long time and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And I was very angry at myself about this, understandably. However, I was going through a very hard time with my mental health. And one of the interesting factors about it was that, I had my nervous breakthrough 2 years ago now. And the thing that triggered it was thoughts about this client. Now, granted, it wasn't about the client at all. it was about everything that had just built up over 40 odd years of living and holding on to things and not having grace for myself. And it just, what the thing that made it pop, though, the final straw was this thought about him and how I screwed something up in an interaction with him. And it set everything off. And when that happened, what it became was this thought, it was a thought cycle. And it could start different ways, but it would always end in this one thought that I had. And I mean, it doesn't even really matter, but it was about a meeting we'd had. And in my head, it went differently than it actually had. So I had all the words and stuff right, but I don't know if I had a dream about it or I just convinced myself of this. But in my head, I'd been really I'd been inappropriate, and he was angry, and that's why the conversation had ended. When in reality, it was a little because he'd been partying the night before and all the way into the morning, and he'd just woken up and he was tired, and we just needed to have the meeting at a different time. But in my head, it was because, and it just went off. So every single time this thought would cycle through, I would scream horrible things at myself and throw myself against the wall or the ground trying to hurt myself. And it was every time, and it got to the point where it was like every 30 seconds. It was unrelenting. And it was every time with the thought about him, and screaming obscenities and horrible things at myself and trying to hurt myself, in connection with the thought to him. So when I kind of, started healing from that event, and it's still, there's still lingering things I talk about with you guys sometimes. Sitting down to even thinking about doing work for him, doing this book, sent me into these attacks, these instances of me screaming at myself and being upset, angry, and even as things got better and better, it was still this entire body cringe, huge. And when I sat down to work on the book, this happened every 1 to 2 minutes. I couldn't work on it. I couldn't. It was painful. I avoided it. And when I didn't avoid it and I sat down to do it, I couldn't make any headway because I just kept having these anxiety attacks. But I was so angry at myself. And that made it worse. That was the anger and at myself made the anxiety attacks much, much, much worse. But then one day I was thinking about it, and I was kind of I don't remember what I was doing. I was washing my hands or something in the bathroom, and I looked up at the mirror and I started saying this to myself without even meaning to. I was look, you fucked up. You did. But given what you were going through, it's understandable. It's okay. It's understandable. You're not a bad person for it. It's okay. I don't remember that. It was longer. It was a longer self-talk than that, but that was essentially the crux of it. And when that finally broke into my consciousness, I felt so much better. And I still get anxiety attacks about it, and I still feel very badly about it, but I'm not, my entire body isn't reacting to it every time I think about it. And I'm not feeling, I feel bad, but I'm not feeling this immense crushing weight of guilt and horror for myself. And oh my God, we haven't talked since, you know what I mean? And I've tried a bunch of times to get in touch with him and be look, this is what was happening. Please understand. I know it wasn't cool. I'm going to pay you back whenever I can. But, it's just, he hasn't come back to me. And that was making me feel absolutely horrible. And it made me want to contact him more, which is never a good thing. But, having this grace, allowing myself to be a human and to be okay, so you were he was closely, intimately associated with the worst, most horrifically painful, scary, exhausting time of your life, intimately related to it. yeah, it was hard to sit down and do the work, and that's understandable. Not great, but understandable, and it's okay. And I don't feel this bad about it. And it's also like, when I think about him not talking to me, I'm also kind of like, you know what? Like, I sent him several, like an email, a text, trying to get in touch with him, trying to have, and then eventually sending him like a text that was basically like, look, this is what happened. And I don't know if he read them or not, but I do feel if he had, you'd have to understand. I mean, you'd have to understand. So I don't feel that badly about it. So having grace with myself has allowed a lot of healing, a lot of letting go of anger towards myself, and letting go of this relationship that I'm so upset. I'm upset that I lost this relationship that I fucked up. I like the guy a lot. He was really, really cool. And I'm just talking seriously as on a completely platonic level, but like, I thought he was awesome. And I'm sad. I'm sad that that's not a thing anymore, but I'm not going to beat myself up over it. And I think that's a really important point. Like, grace allows you not to beat yourself up over things. And when you extend grace to another person, it allows you not to beat them up in your head, or verbally, or whatever it is. It allows you not to hold a grudge. It allows you to let go. Notes. So grace, one of the things it does is it eases the need for control. So when we let go, it can feel like we're losing something. We've discussed this in prior weeks, right? It feels like we're losing something. A lot of times we feel like we're losing control. Grace reminds us that it's okay to release our grip a little bit, to stop pushing so hard, and to trust that things can unfold in their own way and time. Grace is about saying, it's just about, like, I don't have to have this all figured out right now, and that's okay. Coming up soon, in the month of surrender, grace allows us to be like, there is no way. And you know what? We'll discuss this more. We'll discuss this in those videos. Let's finish these videos first. Grace also allows us to forgive ourselves and others. So it's a huge part. Forgiveness and grace are huge parts of letting go, right? Forgiving ourselves for mistakes, or letting go of resentment towards others, it really helps to have grace. It invites us to soften this resentment and this judgment, and to make space for understanding. It doesn't mean excusing bad behavior. It doesn't mean pretending that nothing happened. It's just more about a choice to release the hold the anger and guilt has over us, to make space for peace. Not easy, not always easy, but the more we realize that ourselves and others, we're all human and we're all flawed, and there has to be some accommodation from that. That's what grace is. And it gives us perspective and patience, right? Grace helps us see the bigger picture. It reminds us that healing and growth don't all happen at one time. Grace gives us the patience Grace gives us the patience to let go one step at a time, and knowing that we don't have to rush or force it. Like, we don't have to put pressure on ourselves. I think that's a big part of grace. Like, you don't have to put pressure on yourself. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to get it done now, and neither does anybody else. Within the letting go process, grace can transform us by bringing a lot of inner peace and calm. I know that's my experience with it. We can find peace. I'm looking at my notes, so please excuse me. One day I'll get one of those teleprompter things. It'll be great. But with grace, we're not holding on to rigid expectations or judgments. We relax, and we relax into the idea that we are a work in progress, right? That it's okay not to be perfect. Grace quiets the inner critic, and it allows us to breathe easier, which is so funny because a lot of times, you know, you're listening to the inner critic and you're like, I shouldn't be listening to the inner critic. I should be past this by now. This inner critic shouldn't be as loud as it is. And that's more inner critic, right? That's when you have to have grace for yourself. It's a lot about self-compassion, right? We're offering ourselves grace. We can become more compassionate with ourselves, and we can become compassionate with others. This makes it easier to let go of the past and embrace the present and our transformation as we become who we are becoming. And, you know, as we let that stuff go, whether it's for ourselves or others, relationships improve because we're freer to connect without holding old baggage and holding things against people. It's forgiveness, right? So again, it's all easier said than done. It's, this is a long one, huh, guys? Sorry about that. Ways to cultivate it, right? We've talked a lot about noticing self-judgment, being aware of our inner critic. Next time you catch yourself doing it, and again, remember it occurs to me like how well put these months have been, and I'll start over. I think, you know, put that aside. Self-awareness. We're just talking about self-awareness, right? Listen, when you notice yourself judging yourself, your process, or your progress, stop and ask yourself, how would it feel if I showed myself some grace? How could I show some grace? Where is there space for grace? And notice, like, listen to how your criticism shifts as you allow for the fact that you're a human being and not perfect. And that you might actually be putting too much pressure on yourself. You might be actually expecting too much of yourself. And that maybe you're not even this stuff. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of speaking from personal experience here. Maybe the stuff you're angry at yourself about or whatever isn't actually that bad. And like, just chill. And then one way to cultivate grace too is small acts of forgiveness, right? Forgiveness, again, these things are choices you have to make a lot sometimes every 5 seconds, right? It doesn't happen all at once, but when you try to forgive a small thing, like a small mistake, a minor grudge, notice how that feels, you know, like just think like, okay, well, you know what, like that person fucked up. You know what I mean? That's another one. Like, oh, grace for other people. I know I had a housemate who, I don't want to get too much into these stories because this is already pretty long, but she basically stopped talking to me and didn't tell me why. And I still have no idea why. And it was ironic or weird because, not ironic, but kind of ironic. Our conversation before had been her saying like, oh my God, my life is so much better because of you. I love you so much. You know, anything you need, I want to be able to pay you back. Like, I think you're awesome and my life is better for you in it. Thank you. That was the conversation we had before she stopped talking to me. And so I'm like, And so I was angry because she, not only did she do this, but also she's a difficult person to handle a lot of times. And she would be angry with me. I mean, she was very much like my sister. She'd be angry with me without having a reason and without telling me the reason and assuming that I should know it. But the story in her head was not actually reality. So I had no idea what she was doing, why she was angry, but she would treat me like shit and not talk to me for days. And I was all right. I handled that with grace every single time. And so when she did this, I was like, you motherfucker. Like, you know what I mean? And this is long after we were housemates, well, like a year after we were housemates, because, you know, when you're living with someone, they eventually have to talk to you. So, but now it's like, all right, well, it's been since February and I guess we're not friends anymore, but it's something I've been angry about. And I'm just working on being like, you know what? She has made herself miserable in so many different ways. She has fucked her relationships with people left, right, and so I mean, like, I don't know, knowing her as well as I do, like, I don't know of a relationship she hasn't fucked up. So she's really just punishing herself, and I do feel bad for her for that. So I can forgive that. I can have grace for that. I can have grace for her for that, with her for that, and I can forgive it. I mean, and the thing is, I say that right now, but you know, tomorrow I might be angry about it again. I have to continue to forgive, continue to choose to have grace. Not always easy, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes, and eventually it becomes the default. Another way to help cultivate grace is to reflect on the idea of impermanence. Everything changes, right? The thing that you're holding on to won't always be as important as it feels in this moment. For instance, I have a friend, this is going for so long. I have this friend, and he and I became friends when we were in our late 20s, and stopped being friends. I mean, we were only friends for a few years, but we were like acting together. I got a gig basically that was a video gig, and it was like producing a commercial for the guy that I was working for my day job. And things went off the rails. I had this guy help me, this my friend of mine help me, and things just went off the rails and went to shit, and I blamed him for it, which, to be fair, kind of his fault. But it pissed me off for a really long time. Like, I couldn't. Years passed, and every once in a while he'd try to get in touch, and I'd be like, look. And that's not really who I am usually, but I was so mad about it for so long. But then recently, not even recently, like maybe a couple years ago, I heard a song that he and I used to like drive around and sing to. And I just remembered like how much fun that was. And I was like, maybe it's okay. And I tried to get in touch with him, but I didn't hear anything from him. But then recently he got in touch with me asking me a question about something. And I was like, oh, okay. And then sort of we kind of like went back and forth a little. And now we're planning on getting together. And I'm really excited about it because it doesn't mean to me. I mean, I probably held on to it for longer than I needed to, but I don't care about it anymore. It's like, yes, it happened. Yes. Honestly, if you want to play the blame game, it wasn't my fault, but I'm okay with that. It's okay. I don't even remember the exact circumstance. You know what I mean? I don't even remember exactly what happened. I don't remember what happened, but I just don't care. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, yeah, whatever. He fucked up. We all fuck up. And I like him more than I'm angry about what he did. You know what I mean? So it doesn't mean as much to me now. It doesn't mean anything to me as much as it meant back then. And it's years and years and years. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. It's not like this happened overnight. But one day I did just wake up and be like, this doesn't really matter to me anymore. Which was an interesting experience because I hold on to things, or I have in the past really held on to most things. But knowing that we're not always going to feel this way can help us kind of, when we acknowledge that life moves and shifts and transforms, it helps us to let that go and to step back and kind of view things and have more grace. And it also allows us to be kind to others who are struggling. So it's not just about how we treat ourselves, it's about extending kindness to others. When we're patient with other people's processes, we reinforce the kindness within ourselves. And that's something like I was talking about with my housemate. I had her grace with and for her so many times. And it's because I saw how much she caused her own suffering. And when she wasn't under that influence of whatever it is that causes her to self-destruct that way, she's actually a sweet person, you know? But I mean, like, but I can't. It's like, that's just, I mean, I'm glad that she's not in my life anymore, but I do feel really bad for her. And I can be, I mean, if we were to have a conversation, oh crap, do I have something going on right now? If we were to have a conversation, I'd be able to be a bit, okay, that's at 4:30. I'd be able to be a bit kinder than maybe I would have like 2 weeks ago. So grace isn't, like, again, it's something that you have to choose again and again. It's not a one-time thing. It's a way of being that we can return to daily as we work on letting go, right? It helps us let go. It's the whole point of me bringing this up. With grace, we allow ourselves the time, space, and kindness to let go without pressure or judgment. It's okay if we have to start again tomorrow or in a minute. The process is imperfect, and we are allowing for that. Everything's imperfect, and we can allow for that. Grace isn't about being perfect. It's about being present with ourselves and trusting that letting go, even in small steps, brings us closer to peace. So, I guess one of the things you could do, if you wanted, would be to ask yourself where in your life you could have a bit more grace. Just try bringing a little bit of kindness and compassion to yourself, or to anything that it is that you're trying to let go. Letting go isn't about, you can't force yourself to let go of something, right? That's like, it would be the antithesis. It would be the exact opposite. You wouldn't be able to do it. Letting go is about gently loosening your hold, step by step, and doing that until you feel a sense of freedom and peace. So I'm just going to let you guys know that I am grateful for grace, and remind you all that you can always choose to have a grateful day.